Update. My 35 male mother's 58 female new fiance 24 male wants me to call him Dad. How do I navigate this? Original post. Please buckle in because this is also weird. I'm a 35-year-old man, and for some backstory, my dad died when I was 19, leaving my mom with me and my two siblings. I'm the oldest. It took some time, but eventually my mom started dating again. We don't live together per se, but our houses back onto each other and have a gate. So it's pretty common for her to offer to do my laundry, for me to go over for dinner or to look after our dog, stuff like that. My siblings and I also go over there for dinner every other Friday night or so. A bit after she started dating, the men she was dating started getting younger and younger. I've never had a problem with this. She's been very open with me and my siblings that she wants to get married again, and we've always been supportive, at least after the initial shocks, lol. The latest guy is by far the most serious, and they've been dating since around last June. He proposed at the start of autumn and they wanted to get married next summer. Again, my siblings and I are fine with this because it's her life, and we trust him. He's a nice guy and they clearly love each other. Anyway, this weekend her fiancé, let's call him Phil, called me and asked if I could come over. I said, yeah, sure, I'll be over after work, assuming he needed help with some DIY stuff they're doing. When I got there, he called me Sport and said we needed to talk. I should mention that Phil does this thing where he calls me and my younger brother things like kid, sport, scout, little buddy, or my personal favorite, red and blue, seemingly out of nowhere. My brother is 30, by the way. He tried it with my little sister, 28, once and called her princess, but she just stared at him, and he stopped. The thing with Phil is that he reminds me a lot of Charlie Day's character in Horrible Bosses, and that his whole ambition has always been to meet a girl, get married, and have a family. When he told me and my brother this, my brother joked that our mom might come short on the last part. Phil got very upset, but they made up after. Anyway, I asked if my mom was around, and he said no. It was just him, and that we really need to talk man to man. I said sure, and he started talking about how he's always wanted to be a father and raise a son to call his own. Then he dropped this bombshell. Now, I know I can never replace your father, the man who made you, but it would mean the world to me if you could call me Dad. I'll admit it, I sniggered a little. Then I realized he was serious because he looked like he was about to cry. He didn't drop it either. I asked if he really meant it, and he got emotional, talking about what it means to be a man and how his purpose is to have and provide for a family. He said he wants me and my siblings to be part of that family. He reiterated that he'll never replace my father, which rubbed me the wrong way, but he's ready to step up and be my dad and provide for and protect me and my siblings. I was just sitting there thinking, dude, I'm a decade older than you and live in a separate house. I don't need providing for. Even if I did, I don't think a guy a third my age who works part-time at the hardware store and collects manga is the man to do it. No offense to anyone into that. It's just, I don't know. I was a bit taken aback. I was in shock, so I just said, okay. He got emotional again, this time in a happy way, talking about how he wants to go camping or to a baseball game. I don't even like baseball, lol. He said he joined the Lions this year and wants to bring me into it as his boy. This all feels so surreal, especially because I'm 10 years older than this guy. I ended it by saying, this has gotten a bit too weird, and went home. He got very upset. I called my brother and he agreed it sounded weird AF. Later, my mom called me. She wasn't disappointed but admitted it had made Phil very upset and depressed. I told her that if he's embarrassed, he doesn't need to be. I get that he's excited about the marriage and we can laugh this off as a funny story. She said that wasn't what he was upset about. He, and she a little, is upset that he poured his heart out and I rejected him. She admitted it's a bit kooky but said this is how he proves to himself he's a man. I got a bit angry and said something like, first off, it's not my job to certify what's between his legs. This doesn't prove he's a man. It just proves he's a nut job. I apologized immediately, but she said she didn't want to hear it and hung up. She called me back 10 minutes later and we apologized. She begged me to just go along with it until he has some kids to call his own. She let slip that they plan to try IVF because she's not ready to give up on being a mom just yet. While I have my own thoughts about whether or not that's a good idea, I'm not here to litigate that. We finished the call fine. I reiterated that I'd support her, and she agreed it was definitely a stressful situation for me, but begged me to at least think about it. Which leads me to here. I've thought it over, and obviously I'm going to say no. I had a dad, and he died. Rest in peace, Dad. That's the only dad I've ever needed, wanted, or will ever bestow that title on. I'm not asking if someone is being unreasonable or what I should do. I'm more asking what I should say. This clearly means a lot to Phil for some reason, and I deeply love my mom, so I want to minimize the damage, especially since we're still so involved in each other's lives and they live right behind me. How can I make it clear to them, as painlessly as possible, that I think this is weird and borderline offensive? I really don't want to rip the band-aid off because I fear what it might do to the family. Edit showed my brother the post and he laughed so hard he started coughing. Lol. Then he said we should call Phil Dr. Phil and each other Blue and Red, swapping the nicknames he gave us around. Thoughts? Edit 2. As people were asking, he has no access to my mom's money or anything like that. She rents the house, which came pre-furnished and otherwise has no real assets. She doesn't make a lot of money anyway, so there's no pecuniary motive we can think of. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. I wonder if he grew up without a dad. He's giving a weird 1950s energy to this whole thing that feels like he only knows about dads from seeing them on TV. Oh no, his dad's still alive. Both his parents are. I've met them. They definitely feel odd about the whole situation, but go along with it for his sake. If it is so important to his personal identity to find a girl, have kids with her, and raise them as their dad, it seems like marrying a 58-year-old woman with adult children significantly older than himself is a pretty ineffective way to achieve those life goals. If it is so important to him, he should find someone his own age and make that happen the normal way. It's not your responsibility to make your mom's boy toy feel like a man. You're closer to being his much older brother than his son. Weird. This. Like, of course he feels like a child in this relationship and family. He's not going to feel like a man of the house in this situation. He's very unlikely to get his own child. So why is he sticking around? Me and my siblings all think he has issues talking to girls his own age. And so it led to this. You were downplaying your mother's behavior as well. If you'd cringe at the idea of a 58-year-old man dating a 24-year-old woman, you should be as disgusted by this situation. First update a week later. Anyway, I told both my siblings and we agreed we'd collectively put our foot down with Phil at our next family dinner next week, especially after an incident where Phil referred to my brother as sport and asked if he wanted to go see a baseball game with him. Admittedly, I was a bit spurred on by what you all said and got involved, pinging him back with, "Oh, no tickets from me, Daddy?" My brother responded with, "Daddy wants me all to himself." Hot. Phil took a few minutes to respond before saying he was shocked, speechless, and disgusted. He then messaged me privately to say he was utterly appalled and that he'd never disrespect his own father the way you boys did. At this point, I kind of lost it and said, "Right, and that's because you're not my father, Phil. You're a 24-year-old man-child dating my mother. You have no right to my respect, especially not to the respect a father gets." I immediately apologized, but then blocked his number and left the group chat. Apparently, he sent a similar message to my brother who responded with more daddy jokes, and Phil ended up blocking him. Well, that aside, I don't think the family dinner is going ahead. After the original post blew up, it seems someone from his Lions Club found it and reported it to their chair or whatever. Phil has either been expelled or resigned, or is it in the process of one of the two? He has removed nearly all mentions of the Lions from his social media. His last post about it was a cryptic goodbye where he drones on about what it means to be a man in a modern day and the duty of fatherhood bestowed on all men at birth. Really weird stuff. My mom called me half in a panic and half in a rage about the stuff I'd been telling about him, before breaking down and saying we needed to meet. So we did, and I got my brother to come over too. I know Phil has temporarily moved back in with his parents in the next town over, but from my understanding, they still want to go ahead with the wedding, though I think that's mostly because they've already spent money on it. When she said she was determined to have more kids, plural, my brother stepped up and asked if she really thought that was a good idea at her age. I pointed out that assuming she had a baby next year and lived to 80, the kid still wouldn't have finished college by the time she passed. She stammered on about how people live longer these days before breaking down crying and admitting she's not ready to give up on mothering due to some deep-seated trauma and fears about the family breaking apart, which I won't go into for her sake. When we reassured her that we weren't going anywhere, she calmed down. We had a very good, honest conversation where she agreed to drop the IVF idea on the grounds that it'd be too expensive and unlikely to get greenlit. She's still adamant that it's scientifically possible and ethically acceptable, because she has to win that argument. But whatever. Instead, she's agreed to look into fostering. My brother and I highly doubt anything will ever come of that, so we're not worried anymore. The very good news is that she's also agreed to look into therapy/psychiatric help to deal with her trauma. We helped her get in touch with a nice lady in town so she can unpack all this in a healthier way. At least one person is getting the help they need. I have no idea what's happened with Phil or what's going to happen with him, but I made it clear to my mom that he is not my dad. He's not even my stepdad, and I'm not a kid. He's never going to be either one outside of legal technicalities. She relented pretty quickly. I think she's finally broken out of her shell at least, and we've agreed that if things go ahead, that's going to be a huge red line. I don't know if Phil will want to be friends with me after all this. Lol. Anyway, thanks for the help on the original post, y'all. Wait, so Phil ran home to his mommy and daddy? Great job, kiddos. Great update. Thank you. Is this a message from inside a sitcom somewhere? This cannot be real. You say that, but about 10 years ago, my mother-in-law was obsessed with adopting a little boy, 5 to 7 years old, if I recall correctly. She made it very clear that my, then mid-30s, husband would be just like a full brother to this child, and our daughter would have another uncle. Her harebrained idea was so completely absurd that I literally laughed out loud when she proclaimed her adoption plans to me. She incredulously asked, "What's so funny?" I said, for one, the fact that she would be in her very late 70s when that child became a legal adult. For two, our daughter would never call a child her age or younger uncle anything. Don't worry, my mother-in-law has since moved on from that to countless other ridiculous notions. Sigh. I love how Phil's craziness escalated the already crazy situation of a 58-year-old dating a 24-year-old. So much so that it's not even a part of the discussion anymore. What I'm not understanding is why nobody is focused on that. Like, this is not normal. Is Phil legally an adult? Yes. Should he be treated like a kid? No, because he's not close to being a kid anymore. But that still doesn't make this age gap okay. Like 24 and almost 60? If the genders were reversed, a lot of people would say this isn't right. And it's not right regardless of what gender Phil is. There is absolutely no way Opie's mom isn't taking advantage of Phil. Sorry, Opie, but this is just plain gross of her. Nobody with decency would date a 24-year-old when they're 2 years away from being 60. It's not fair to the younger partner. The older partner is likely going to die decades before them, and OP's mom is at an age where it would be plain selfish to have and raise a baby when there's a possibility she could die in the next decade. Let's be real, it's not uncommon for people to die in their 70s, or even in their 60s. Is 60 super old? No, but it's more than middle-aged, and at that age, you're literally a senior. OP's mom clearly has a lot of trauma causing her to act out. None of this is normal. And the fact that Phil is trying to parent a man an entire decade older than him is really freaking weird. It indicates that he has issues too. And obviously some deep insecurities about dating an older woman who has kids older than him. Second update. A bit of an update as I can't respond to everybody, but I think the marriage is off. Phil has gone AWOL again and had a huge argument with his family after they demanded he call off the wedding and date people his own age. This apparently made him snap. My mom and I have met his mom and older brother, who said Phil is very insecure about girls his own age and has never been able to talk to them, hence his preference. This deeply upset my mom, and after some begging from all of us, she has agreed to push the wedding back, though she still wants to keep dating him. I have no idea where Phil is, though his brother assumes he's couch surfing with his D&D friends. These friends have been sending me and my brothers some not so nice messages, because apparently we're just jealous of the MILF hunter. If any of you socially inept fools are reading this, I don't need to chase middle-aged folks, because I can talk to people my own age like a normal person. Peace. Last story. My 30 female husband 30 male acts like an old man. What are my options? Hi everyone, I need some advice. My husband and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. And while I love him dearly, I'm starting to feel like I'm married to a 70-year-old man in a 30-year-old's body. He's got this boomer energy that is fully leaning into, and I don't know how to handle it. For example, he makes these painfully unfunny dad jokes to everyone, like telling the postman, "Hope there's no bills today, haha." The postman didn't even fake a laugh. He just stared at him. It's excruciating to witness, but my husband is so proud of himself for these little zingers. And then there's his bedtime schedule. If we're out past 9 p.m., he gets cranky and complains about how late it is. I'm 30, I still want to have fun sometimes. But nope, he's always asking if we can go home early because it's getting late or traffic will be bad tomorrow. I've tried telling him that it's only going to get harder to make and maintain friends as we get older, and that we should sacrifice staying out a little later if it means building social bonds and relationships. But he just brushes it off. I don't want to spend my whole life eating dinner at 5 p.m. and being in bed by 9. Is there a way to talk to him about this without making him feel bad or defensive? I love him and want to include him in things. Now for the advice. This whole situation can be avoided by you not seemingly relying on your husband to have fun. Go out with friends. Leave him at home in bed. Just don't do anything stupid when you're out. That's your option. OP, maybe he has trouble sleeping. Not enough sleep or has sleep apnea, so is tired early and trying to get more sleep. Very valid point. I acted like a cranky old lady at 19 because I was severely sleep deprived. Unfortunately, lost a lot of friendships before I got treated. I've got a CPAP now and it has genuinely changed my life. Married people don't have to do everything together. If you want to stay up later, stay up later. Don't want to have dinner at 5? Don't. Does he have to be up early for work or the gym before work? Is this a major personality shift? Because people aren't projects. It's not for him to change. It's for you to adapt. If you want to bring it up to him, make it less, "You have boomer energy and are boring and make bad jokes." And more, "Hey, I know you like to go to bed early, but can we stay up later on Friday and Saturday nights and make one of those nights a date night and the other one more social?" Partially agree, apart from the "it's not for him to change, it's for you to adapt." They're spending their life together. Both should make an effort to reach a middle ground. That goes for everything. You can't expect one person to always adapt themselves for the other one. That won't work.